Hey everyone, and welcome back to Neat in the Heat. You know, to get started in the bourbon and whiskey world, it doesn't take a fortune to get started. In this video, we are going to dive into our top 4 bourbons under $50. So let's get going. Let's start talking about them. If you see here, 2 of them we mentioned in our very first video.
Yes.
Right? We did a review with you on Buffalo Trace.
Yep.
And then Woodford is one of your first bourbons that got you into wanting to learn more.
Yep.
So not just because we talked about them already, we do believe they are very good.
Yes.
Very, very good for their price point. Then we've got Russell's 10-year. Russell's 10-year, it's done by the people that do Wild Turkey. It's been in a lot of social media and YouTube videos with different speculations of their newer batch that came out in 2024, that it might have maybe some 12 years, some 13, 14, maybe a little bit older than that in the bottle. But nonetheless, every other Russell's 10-year before the controversy of 2024 is really, really good. Then last but not least, we have Four Roses Single Barrel, a really good bourbon that we're going to talk about a little bit more about the flavors and profile that we get out of it. So yeah, so let's kind of dive in. Where would you like to start on our top 4 bourbons under $50?
Let's start with the Woodford.
Okay.
So
your first one.
Yes.
Of course. Let's dive into
it's actually
that.
what I'm sipping on right now too. So
absolutely.
That works out. So looking at the Woodford, and you can kind of see here on the bottle, it kind of gives that pure golden color.
Okay.
Now when you smell this one, we're not going to be doing this with all of them, but since I'm sipping on this one, might as well
get
give
into
it a quick smell. It smells like kind of a toasted vanilla bean. It almost has a clean smell to it, like a clean breeze. I almost get like an almond smell as well.
Okay.
So then let's go ahead and taste it. Tasting this one, probably, not my favorite, but one of my top favorites. It kind of has a little bit of a toasted almond taste, like a little bit, maybe a hint of amaretto in it.
Okay.
I also get some oak, and then there is kind of a little bit more of a spicy taste, like a ginger to it.
Okay, gotcha.
I do taste a hint of rye. It's not a traditional rye whiskey, but I do get that hint of rye to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, taste and smell is subjective, but
yeah,
you're very good at pulling different flavors out and honestly matching a lot of other creators and bloggers out there, and it's really quite impressive what you do. So that's kind of why you're going to go through a lot of these bourbons with us right now, just because your palate's just a little bit better. So where are we going to go to next? So Woodford. So to talk about some of these, Woodford traditionally is just kind of shy under that $50 mark. But where we got this at the grocery store that we have here in Tucson, it was actually on sale for $26.
That's a steal.
I mean, $26 for something
steal.
Like Woodford is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Same goes with Four Roses. That's why I decided to buy this, because I said, well, it's even less than it was already less than $50 at retail, but it was on sale for the same amount of $26. And I was like, well, let's bring that into this top 4, because I definitely think it's worthy of that.
So maybe we move on to the
So let's move on to that. Let's
next.
move on to the Four Roses. And you did really good with this one. If you don't know Four Roses Single Barrel, on the back label, they do give, from the distillery, they give some kind of tasting notes and aromas. And as Keeling goes through what she was tasting and smelling, she did get some of those notes that come from the distillery, which still is quite impressive. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's really impressive that you still pull out those notes. So yeah, so definitely talk about how you felt about tasting this.
Yeah, so I really love this whiskey. I feel like for winter, it's a really good whiskey, especially around the holidays. You're sitting by the fire. Like, this is something that you want to have. So just looking at the color, it has kind of that golden, light amber, maybe a little maple color to it. when I gave it a smell, it had that woody, like aspen or kind of pine cone smell to it almost, which I thought was very interesting. And again, reminded me of winter, the holidays, you know. And then when I tasted it, you can definitely taste kind of a maple syrup, which I also think is interesting because when you get that woody kind of tree type of smell, then
you're not expecting that.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But also thinking like maple syrup comes from maple trees, right? So
maybe it's in that realm. Maybe you're maybe kind of making that connection there between what you're smelling with the different trees like oak or pine or aspen, and then kind of making that maybe the maple syrup or the sap or the sweet sap that might come out of those different trees. Absolutely.
I also got kind of a cinnamon taste to it as well.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of wintry kind of type of
taste.
Wintry type of taste. There was a hint of rye in this one as well. I think a little bit more than the Woodford, but it definitely had a hint of rye to it. This one did have a medium finish to it.
So it stayed on your palate just a little bit longer.
Just enough to finish that flavor, but not too long where you get that extended burn.
Gotcha. Absolutely. So let's move into, we'll say for Buffalo Trace because we talked about this last week. So let's move over to Russell's 10-year.
Yeah, let's do it.
So tell me what your thoughts. So with the controversy that's been going on about the different bottling, I'm excited to start trying to figure that out. But besides what may or may not be in the later ones versus the newer ones, tell us what you got out of this Russell's 10-year.
So looking at the color, it's kind of like a amber color to it.
Maybe like a little bit darker than some of the other ones?
Yeah, a little bit darker, but more of that kind of amber color to it. When I smelled it, it had a very sweet smell. Definitely a lot sweeter. These other three were a lot more earthy kind of smelling. This one was more sweet smelling. You could definitely,
fruity,
get vanilla, brown sugar. This one, when I smelled it, immediately I was like, oh my gosh, this smells like apple crisp. This is immediately apple crisp.
Yes, you did tell me that when we were trying these the other day. And of course, you know, some things can be mental, right? You might tell somebody, oh, I smell cinnamon or I taste cinnamon. And then all of a sudden, now that's all you taste is cinnamon and you smell cinnamon and taste cinnamon. But when she did tell me that she tasted apple crisp, I immediately started thinking about my grandmother's apple crisp that she would make during the holidays. And when I thought about that and thought about what you said and I smelt it and tasted it, that's all. I mean, maybe it was something I was pulling out, but that was all I could taste. And it was really nice. It was really pleasant to taste and smell. And then again, you know, our senses bring back memories sometimes. So it was really nice to do that.
So going from the smell to the taste, I thought the smell was very fruity, but the taste was a little bit earthy.
Okay, so maybe the opposite of what these have been for you.
Yeah, okay. So it was a little bit earthy. When I tasted it, I was like, it kind of tastes like eucalyptus a little bit, which I feel like is not something
very different. It's very different.
A lot of people taste, but
right.
For me, like it had a little bit of that eucalyptus taste to it. It did also have a hint of maple syrup as well, where you get that kind of like apple crisp smell to it.
From the nose, it kind of lingered into the palate and the taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This one had more of a short finish, so it was really easy to drink. Very smooth. You take a sip and it sits on your tongue. You get that kind of earthy maple syrup taste, and then it goes away.
And then it's gone.
So yeah.
Buffalo Trace, we talked about this in our last video. You got that graham cracker. Yeah, you have your Colorado Buffaloes shirt on. And, you know, if you're watching this, Travis Hunter did win the Heisman tonight.
Yes! Travis!
Which was really awesome.
Well deserved.
So it's really kind of cool that we're kind of bringing that, like, Buffalo, Colorado, kind of tying everything in. It is quite fun to do that. So, yeah, I mean, these are all really, really good for under $50. It's quite
incredible.
It's quite interesting to me because when you think of cheaper, if you say this is on the cheaper side, you think of Jack Daniels, Jameson. You think of Jim Beam, their regular line. Maybe Fireball falls under that kind of spectrum of cheaper stuff that people drink. But if you really start to dive into the whiskey and bourbon world, you can find some really good stuff under $50.
Yep.
You just have to go out and look. Obviously, every state is going to be different with their taxes. But for us, all of this comes in under $50 a bottle, and it is quite spectacular of how good it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, you know, if you're looking to find some whiskey for a party, holidays are coming up, you have friends coming over, you want to sit by the fire, you want something that's not going to break the bank, then these are all some top choices. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're going to leave it at with this video. Next week, you know, the holidays are coming up, right? Maybe some of you have a bourbon or whiskey lover in your life and you just don't know what to get them. Maybe their list includes some pretty expensive things that you don't want to go and try and look for. But we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe are essential for a whiskey and bourbon lover that maybe they don't have, or maybe they need some more of. We'll go through some of our top lists of those things that you might want to go grab right before the holiday season starts. Christmas, stocking stuffers, maybe a couple of different bourbons that you might be able to go and find out there. We'll definitely put a list together of our most important things that you might want to get that whiskey or bourbon lover in your life. Yeah,
and if you're going to a holiday party and you want to pick up something, you know, easy, not expensive to bring.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely put these four on your list.
I mean, that's a great suggestion. If you're going to be going to a Christmas party and you want to bring something that might wow people that are not in the whiskey or bourbon world and lifestyle that we are, these are definitely going to be a hit. They're definitely going to be a hit. They're not going to disappoint anybody that tries them. Even if they know they're whiskey and bourbon, they're going to see these four or one of them or two of them, and they're going to know that they're still getting something really, really good.
Yep. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yes.
We have a few shorts coming out as well, so keep on the lookout for those as well.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much for watching.
It's Meat in the Heat with Sean and Kayleen.